pleasant good morning to you. Pleasant good morning, a pleasant good Wednesday morning, middle of the week. Welcome to today's episode of Speaking Out, Exposing Corruption, Incompetence. Today is Wednesday, the 24th day of September in the year of our Lord 2025. Let's rejoice and be glad. Let's give thanks and praise to the Almighty for being in the land of the living. Yes, today is Wednesday, middle of the week. The middle of the week. Don't you tell you like Wednesday? You know, that mean you're in the middle of everything. When I tell you in the country, say you like patsat, mean you're in everything. Yeah. So today is Wednesday, the middle of the week. I hope you had a wonderful 2 nights since we last met, and hope you're looking forward for a productive day and a productive remainder of the week. Let me encourage you to share the live, and let them know that we're on. By now, the regular students will know Wednesday at 11 o'clock. We are on. So here we are. Another great day that the Lord has made. Let's rejoice and be glad in it. Let's give praise and thanks to being in the land of the living. It is a privilege to be in the land of the living. And I'm always happy when you look and some people comment, students will tell you that it's good to be in the land of the living. Yes, it's good to be in the land of the living. It's a privilege to be in the land of the living. And we should never, ever take that for granted. This morning, the program was scheduled at 8. You know, we say now in the mornings, for the 11 o'clock class, we will open the gates at 8 o'clock instead of the usual 7. So it was open at 8, and students came in immediately into the schoolyard. And then when the classroom doors were open, as is to be expected, students came rushing in. But share the life. You know, we have noted that since we reached a peak just before elections, and then just before the 1st of this month, and shortly thereafter. But there's a little drop in attendance. Attendance is still great, but there's a little drop, which we have noted. So remind your fellow students, remind all, that elections or no elections, we have a lot, because we're talking about corruption and incompetence, and no one can doubt, even the government admitting they get incompetent, corruption, even them admit it. Whereas in the past, they used to deny, oh, there's no corruption. It's just people like Conway and Slow and other people who were against the government talking about corruption. They were forced to admit that there's massive corruption in the government and elsewhere. Massive, massive corruption. So much so that during the manifesto, they said they're going to establish some anti-corruption unit. Well, they're not established it yet. Some anti-corruption. Why, if there is no corruption, why are you establishing an anti-corruption unit? You understand? Make that make sense. So here we are. We're gonna, and I say, let the other students know that we are going to be here. And remember, this program did not start for elections. We have been going now. This is the 4th season, right? 4th season, and the interest has been growing all the time. And I'm sure interest will continue to grow because we are bringing you credible, valuable information. So yes, my colleague CC is in the studio. You know, sometimes I get a little anxious in the mornings when we log on and so on, just to make sure that he can be heard and everything is good at his end, because many times, you know, the gremlins are interfering to prevent the credible and valuable information from reaching you. Very often that has been happening. You get all of these, what they call technical difficulties and so on. But we are going to persevere, and we're going to come here and bring you the credible information. This morning, like most other morning, we have so much to tell you. So many things have happened in the recent times. Even since we last met on Monday, we need to bring them to your attention. So yes, sit back, share the live. The usual format, as we said now, we're going to do the roll call and recognize those who came in early. And then we're going to go straight into the announcements. In terms of the people who came in early, the first man who came in when the program was scheduled, there he is. Wayne from the UK was the first. He was followed by Peter, then Winston from California, Lucius, Kerry, then it was Carl Johnson, Felicia, Raul, 11752, Semple was there, Sean from upstate, Moses, Pastor Smith, Aubrey from Canada, Desiree from Georgia, Wayne, Dexter, Paulette, Puran from the Essequibo Coast, Anthony Bradshaw, Petersall in the East Bank, Rosalind, Clifton Stewart, all the way from Paris. Jakey is here with us, man from Maryland. Marcus, then it's Terence, Anthony, Esla, Brian, Clarence, Paulette. Then after Paulette, it is Sandra. Gibbo is here with us. Marcus, George from BV, my countryman. Courtney. Then it was Selwyn, Edward, then Anne, Ivor, Benji from my Coney. They all came very early. Claire came at the same time with Benji. Pinky came at the same time. Michael Brower is here at that time too. And then the thing goes on. Then when we open the doors, when the doors were open, or when that is the time when the Facebook people get an opportunity to come on. And let me see what's the first Facebook are on this morning. As usual, Edward Charles is here early. Rosie Rose, Lennox, Joan from New Amsterdam. Then it was Corinne is here. And the list goes on. Trifosa, Leroy, Pam, West Demerara, Denise, the secretary. They all came in very early. Mahendra and all. So yes, they're here. Very early. And I love that. Now, let me tell you, that's the roll call. Let me go to some announcements. We did tell you about the death of police corporal, woman corporal. Her name was Tamika McIntosh. The funeral is today, and the arrangements are they're going to be viewing from 11:30 to 12:30 at our residence. There's 46 Stewardville, West Coast, Demerara. And then after that, further viewing at the St. Luke's Presbyterian Church at Iflot from 12:40 to 13:50, right? And the service will commence at 2 p.m. That is today, the funeral arrangement for the late woman corporal McKend, 22302, Tamika McIntosh. I think she was stationed at Providence or somewhere there. I know a question was asked of me by a friend over the weekend. He said, how is it that so many police, young police in particular, in the past year or so are dying? He asks a lot of questions. Is it because of the stress? Is it because of the long hours? He asked me, because he said police now is 12 hours duty and all. I said, I don't know. But I cannot recall, apart from when we had the jailbreaks, in the aftermath of the jailbreak, where you have many policemen being murdered. I can't recall so many policemen dying. What appears to be of natural causes. We had Assistant Commissioner Rose, and many policemen and women are passing. And again, we have to implore them to take care of yourself. Make sure you get your regular checkups. Go and look after yourself. Don't wait on the force and the administration and the welfare department to do that. It is in your interest to do that. And if you don't feel well, go and check up. 32-year-old woman dies, go and check up. I know the culture what is that when you report sickness, you're lazy, you're slacker, you're malingering, but you have to know your body. You have to know your body. So again, make sure that you check yourselves, right? And that is what I need to. So we don't have any other police death to report. But Monday while we were on, we got word that a wall at a building being constructed collapsed and killed a young Cuban national. We're going to talk a little bit more about that in a short while. So we have that. Sad. Death from all angles, man. Oh, a small country like Ghana, deaths on the road. Here, murder there. People falling down and people dying. Something is wrong, man. We know you have to die, yeah? You know that we have to die. But I say to you, you got to take care of yourselves. So that when the Almighty decides it's time for you to go, well, you can't run away from that. And then we have this death of well, to me, he was one of the most famous cricket umpires, right? The man, it's only now I realize what his correct name is. We all knew him as Dickie Bird. Those of us who follow cricket knew him as Dickie Bird, Englishman from Yorkshire. He died yesterday at the age of 92. But then I realized yesterday his name is Harold Dennis Bird. Never knew that before. Harold Dennis Bird, Dickie Bird, right? Passed away in 92. Let me say this. Dickie, as far as I'm aware, was one of the most respected umpires, cricket umpires. He had a good relationship with all of the players, and that was demonstrated on the field of play. No animosity when I put a man out, he accepts that he's out. Dickie was a joy to watch in the middle. So Dickie has passed, and I want to say condolences to all those who have, all the relatives, in Dickie's case, the cricket world, and the passing of those persons. Let me bring in Mr. CC, Mr. Conway CC for his initial talk, and then we're going to move on. CC, welcome, my brother. Welcome.
Good morning. Morning. Happy to be in the land of the living to do God's work. Yeah, I say happy to be in the land of the living to do God's work. And we birthday greetings. I hear you give any birthday greetings all I miss you because you were on and off. I don't know. But I think right now it's a bit cleared up.
Yeah, my thing I brought you. I was so anxious for you to come in that I did not complete the announcements. Let me do that. Board date today. We have the board anniversary today. Let me see. There is a board date today. Hold on. Let me pull up my notes. I did make note of it. One moment. I can't miss that. Board day greetings. Yes. Today is the board anniversary of retired senior superintendent Patrick Robin, 96, 97 Robin. Today, how could I have missed that, man? Today is Patrick's board anniversary, 96, 97 Robin. We were all there as young policemen at the TSU. Then, of course, we went different places, and he spent a long time in the training environment. Today is also the board anniversary of a former member, Curtis Edwards. Some of y'all will remember Curtis. Curtis used to be at Linden, I think, and then he was a middle distance athlete. So in the days when Giant Services, sports, and all them type of thing, Curtis was a champion in that regard. So yeah, he's observing today too. So happy birthday to Patrick and to Curtis. I hope that the good Lord will spare your life to see many, many, many more successful, prosperous, happy birthdays. Yeah, so we did have that announcement to make, but I said maybe I was anxious to bring in CC, and I missed the birthday announcement. So yes, CC. Yes, go ahead. Can you hear me? Go ahead.
Yeah. And happy birthday to Patrick. Patrick, my countryman, my classmate, and he attended the instructor's course, did exceedingly well as expected. And I wanted to get him to the college as an instructor. And he was very reluctant, and I had difficulty until I was at the police officer's mess here at Duncan Clark there, and was about one something in the morning we were imbibing, and I tackled Uncle Clark, who was the operations man. I said, "You promised to give me Robin. You ain't giving me Ramiro. You want him?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, take him. Take him now." I said, "So could I go to force control now and send a message that you've been transferred?" "Yes, go." And that's how I get Robin at the college, and he did an excellent job. So happy birthday to you, Patrick.
Yes, Patrick. You know, Patrick at the TSU, said we were all there. And then I'm sure Patrick will remember when he was in the registry, working the registry. And when I was in that orderly room, Marshal Brock as the inquiring officer, and Archie Ross giving evidence. And Patrick, I'm sure, will remember that. And one of the students is telling me that today is the birth anniversary of Tornil, ex-Sergeant Tornil. I think Tornil, I know the same Tornil. He was the ballistic man there for many, many years, the ballistic expert. Someone is saying that today is his birthday as well. So happy birthday to Tornil as well. Now let me move on. I tell you, I want to cricket. You know, the last time we had a good opening on cricket, and I think some of the students weren't too happy. Of course, they're not cricket fan, and they commented that we talking too long about cricket and so on. Obviously, they are not cricket fan. Obviously, they are not. But let me tell you too that in terms of cricket, the ICC has suspended the United States cricket membership. They suspend ICC, International Cricket Council, suspend the US from the membership. But if you read it, they say the team will still be allowed to continue to play, but some problem with management. And you know, when politics get involved in cricket, they did it to Sri Lanka some years ago, and they think. So I caution all of those in Guyana and around the Caribbean who, because I suspect of the failure of West Indies Cricket Board, the governments want to get involved. The ICC waiting for y'all. ICC waited because they have made a clear, I think they did it to Pakistan too, right? Once government get involved, ICC said, nah, we ain't going there, right? So we need to make sure that they take that into consideration. Yeah, so let me move on. Again, I got to remind you that we're into Amerindian Heritage Month. The brothers and sisters are enjoying their culture around the country. Now, you know, like everything else, we talk about the issue with that was Friday and again on Monday, about the voice note that I received about the person who raped the 8-year-old, raped and sodomized 8-year-old, right? Following our revelation on Friday, the police issued a bulletin there is a release over the weekend. I understand that they have now issued a wanted bulletin for this person. We understand that they have issued a wanted bulletin for that person. Well, I hope they will pursue that with vigor, because that is a beast. That is a beast on the loose, right? So they have issued a wanted bulletin for the person. I've not seen the bulletin, but I read in the news that a wanted bulletin has been issued for him, and we hope they capture him soon, because they did say that it was a whole rigmarole story, if you remember. This man was there, they say, for how many days? From the 6th of September to the 15th, they call it 6 days. And then bail was offered to him in the sum of $200,000. And because he couldn't find the bail, they released him on $20,000. Imagine that, $20,000 bail to go to court. He did not turn up. And then they had a summons, all sort of craziness they writing, all sort of nonsense. If this man was charged or is to be charged, what summons you talking about? You have summons to witness, you have summons to defendant. And based on what the release said, you had a case where he was a summons to defendant, he was in custody. And therefore, one would have expected him to be charged and taken before the court, but that wasn't done. So after that craziness, so we are going to keep following it. We're going to keep monitoring that. I'm talking about, before I bring in Mr. Conway, talking about wanted bulletin. I saw last night, I think it was, the police issue a wanted bulletin for this man who appears there, and they claim, let me pull up, because you might be able to read what is there, but they say that he is wanted, the name, and I'm doing this as a public service among other things, so people can know this man who was charged with murder. They claim that on today is Wednesday, on Monday, he escaped from the Friendship Magistrate Court. I understand a release is there, very sketchy. They haven't said to us, the public, under what circumstances this man escaped, you know. This is a murder accused, 26 years, they said 26-year-old, A-L-E-E-B-A, Alba Anthony London. Last known address, 74 2nd Street, Caneville, Grove, East Bank, Demerara. Right? Offenses, listen to this carefully. Offenses, murder, and escape from lawful custody. On whom committed? Ryan Fedricks. So he escaped from Ryan Fedricks too. That is what they want us to believe. Dates of offenses is on the 28th of August and the 22nd of September. Place of offenses, Friendship, East Bank, Demerara. I mean, this kid, look, I am not picking on them. Let me understand this thing clearly. But any professional organization would not allow this nonsense to go out there into the public domain. The man is wanted for murder. He was charged for murder, they said, charged for murder. I suspect what I mean to say is that the victim or the person who was killed is the Ryan Fredericks. But then they say here that the offense is murder and escape from lawful custody on whom committed Ryan Fredericks. So they're claiming that Ryan Fredericks is the person from whom he escaped as well. It's a lot of nonsense they write. It's a lot of nonsense they put out there. And somehow they are not being corrected because maybe the people who are there are incapable of correcting them. So you're putting out a wanted bulletin, the man escaped, and the man say, well, I say escape or was allowed to go. Because remember, we haven't been told, I understand, that they haven't indicated the circumstances of this man. Now you tell me this. If this man is charged with more than taken to the Friendship Manship Code, this is one of the newer codes in the country. How he escaped? He ain't get handcuffed? He ain't get shackled? Y'all, when Ashuddin Mohammed turned up in court in answer to a charge, he turned up in court and was placed on bail. And y'all handcuffed after he was placed on bail. Right? Kadaki Amsterdam, handcuffed. Right? This guy from the WPA, handcuffed and shackled. Right? Handcuffed and shackled. Takuma Gonse, handcuffed and shackled. And here you have a murder accused. You are telling people escape from the Friendship Magistrate Court. Right? The circumstances have not been laid out. But how come a murder suspect? Is he not handcuffed? Is he not shackled? How he get away? Or are you saying he get away? But I got a strong suspicion that maybe he was allowed to leave. Maybe Jackie Opel came. Because I cannot understand, again, our murder accused, who should be under proper restraint, is your come and say he escaped from full custody. You know, they got a charge on the Police Discipline Act under 4E. I remember the exact subsection. Permits a prisoner to escape. Permits a prisoner to escape. But let me tell you all a story about that. Always a very serious offense. Permits a prisoner to escape. Well, there's always one of the more controversial sections. When I did lectures on the Police Discipline Act, people should always query this section, but because they're thinking that when you say permits, you expressly permit the person to escape. But it just will draw to their attention the preceding part of the sentence, because it says, by carelessness or neglect, permits a prisoner to escape. By your carelessness or your neglect, you permit a prisoner to escape. I had a famous case at the TSU when I was young officer in charge of TSU. There was a particular sergeant. I saw them, I remember him. His job was to collect prisoners from the prison, bring them to the police compound, and supervise them cleaning up and so on. Every day, Monday to Friday, that was his work. One day, he collect the prisoners, and one of the prisoners cannot be accounted for. When we checked the records, the prisoners left the headquarters and they went somewhere in Lambert Street. He took them in Lambert Street to take a toops. And then one of the men disappeared. And we understand that was a usual practice. That was the usual practice. I remember this matter very well. Larry Lewis was the commissioner. Prisoner disappeared. So the sergeant thing, well, he charged, permits the prisoner to escape. I am the officer conducting the inquiry. He came and he pleaded not guilty. So I said, all right, not guilty, not guilty. If you're not guilty, there is your right to plead not guilty. But unless the prison authorities tell me that the prisoner was returned to the prison, I don't know how you're going to prove that you're not guilty. I'm not trying to influence your plea, but I wanted to make it clear. You collected the prisoner from the Georgetown prison, you brought him to headquarters, and you did not return the prisoner. So you say you're not guilty. Let me go. So let me go. And then I reminded him, that during the normal course of things, when a person pleads guilty and puts himself to the mercies of the court is likely to be more lenient with the person. I told him that. And then he said, when he came back for the trial to commence sometime after, he adopted a certain course. Old police didn't know what talking about. He adopted a certain course. In other words, he maybe he got advice and he changed his plea to guilty. Right? Changed his plea to guilty. I did the summary, sent it up to Lilo. I think I had recommended a reduction to corporal. Lilo said, you don't deserve no stripe at all. Lilo take away all 3 stripes. Reduce it to consul. And shortly after he left the work, I don't know if he's still alive, was a old police. So I remember that that's a serious thing when a prisoner escapes, especially a murder accused escapes. A murder accused, right? Dudley, I guess the fact that I laid out the rules and what are the normal protocols, he might have decided to change his plea. So I don't know what is going on. And I am anxious to hear how they're going to explain the explanation they will give as to how this prisoner who is in court for murder, how come he escaped. But let me bring in Mr. Conway. Again, I say Conway is much older. Well, not much older, a little older, and I think much wiser. So let me hear CC take on this. CC, let me hear you on this prisoner who escaped, man.
Like you, Paul. I read the statement put up by the police, and I reading how this man escaped. I didn't read anything how he escaped. I didn't put anything. Just escape from lawful custody. How did he escape? No facts whatsoever. They went into a big long thing that the man who was murdered, he and somebody came from Bartico. They hire a boat, and then at Perico, they joined a black vehicle with some woman inside there, and they went to a certain place and spent the night. And whilst during the night, the person came and said he was robbed and he subsequently died, but nothing about the escape. Nothing about the escape. So I don't know who wrote it, but it's mind-boggling that there's nothing there, not a word about how the person escaped, whether by carelessness or by neglect on behalf of the police. But that's what they put out there. It wasn't helpful at all, Paul.
Either by carelessness or neglect, according to the Police Discipline Act, chapter 1701, section 4 something. I can't remember. I get a little old now, but I know it's a section 4. Neglect of duty. All the neglects are dealt with under section 4, but permits a prisoner to escape. In whose custody this prisoner was at the time when he escaped? Is this person under close arrest, being investigated for negligence in permitting the prisoner to escape? Or is it because Mr. Opel, Jackie Opel, you got to pay AAAA? Is it that Jackie Opel visited? And that is why this person who is charged with murder is now at large. Let me know, because even the release that they gave to us to tell us that the man escaped and the victim or the person whom committed is nonsense. Again, I say, you have people in that unit headed by Mark Ramatar, the Corporate Propaganda Unit. They call it the Corporate Communication Unit. I call it Propaganda Unit, right? They obviously they don't have experience and they don't know how to put out these releases. They just write. Because when you write to say, let me read this back again before we move on. Man. When you write to say, the offenses are murder and escape from lawful custody. And then you write, on whom committed Ryan Fedricks. Ryan Fedricks might have been the murder victim, but he could not have escaped from custody of Ryan Fedricks. Then you went on to say the dates of the offenses are the 28th of August and the 22nd of September, and the place is Friendship. A lot of confusion. I suspect what they're trying to tell us. The date of the murder is the 28th of August. The date he escaped from lawful custody is the 22nd of September. And the place where he escaped from lawful custody is Friendship on the East Bank. That is not where the murder was committed. Right? Once again, we got a friend here, one of them, some Saudi name, say his name is Scott Neptune, referring to us as two old failures. Well, if we are two old failures, imagine what you're going to call them, what are they, young failures? Are they young failures? So, well, you obviously don't want to learn. I want to don't want to learn. Sorry. Sorry, this is not the place for you. This is a place for learning. We teach those who want to learn. So, hola, yeah. So sorry, sorry, right? So Ashley, something the person here. What did I delete the wrong thing? No, I don't think so. I don't think so. So we don't permit them type of thing anymore. We try to teach, right? And everything we're saying here, if you had any modicum of sense, you gotta understand what we are talking about. But apparently you don't have that. I am hoping I did not by mistake remove the wrong thing. I'm hoping, right? I'm hoping I did not. I have made that mistake before. It doesn't appear so. Right. So let me understand this. Now, our next thing, as we're on that, right? Remember we told you following this acid incident where this person is alleged to have thrown acid on this young lady, disfiguring her, while she can be blind in one eye, they claim, and so on. Police then said they arrested this man, and he gave a confession statement. And the confession statement was given while, according to what has been said, while his wife was in custody and his daughter. So, confession statement given, they claim that the man admitted to throwing, right? That is what the police said. And we have said here that ain't going no place because, as we explained, once the trial starts, if it gets to that point, he's charged with throwing. Even though Blanham is reported to have said, that is the crime chief, is reported to have said that the man confessed to employing someone to commit the act. Is employed someone to commit the act. That's what they claim. So we said that if you employ someone to commit the act and you did not commit the act yourself, we don't know how they're charging him, how they expect to get a conviction for him throwing. Because they say he's the one who threw the acid on these people. They have not debunked it yet. They have not come to say, well, they can clarify as to exactly what is it. Right? All right. So we ain't hearing anything further about that. Then the next thing we know, the man went to court. When he went to court before the acting chief magistrate, the question of bail, because as we explained to you, the man is charged indictable, so no magistrate can try the case. When he went to court, it would have been for bail hearing. The magistrate can determine whether he must get his pre-trial liberty and bail. It is reported that the prosecutor objected to bail being granted, correctly, given the nature of the offense, object to bail being granted, and said that they have evidence. They get video recording of this man showing this thing, and they get video recording of this confession statement, right? The magistrate then remanded him to prison and until the next day, because the police promised to bring the evidence to show the magistrate the next day. The next day, the following day when the matter came up, the police were unable to produce the promised evidence. That is the tape recording. The lawyer representing, I think he had more than one, then of course the magistrate released him on $500,000 bail because the police failed to produce the evidence that they claim that they have. So the magistrate, used her discretion, released him on $500,000 bail, and a lot of comments around the place, a lot of comments about bail. And let me say this, as we have said before, right? Bail is not punishment. There are circumstances which allows to bail. Once the offense is a bailable offense. So the police jump out and release a statement attacking the magistrate. Police did that. Guyana Police Force released a public statement attacking the magistrate because she decided that this person should go on bail. And the magistrate came back, kudos to her, with a release when she appeared in court the next day and explained that the police, a lot of the things that she's seen in the release was never revealed in court. So she's not going to try the matter with public opinion. And I am happy to see that the Guyana Bar Council, right? Statement by the Guyana Bar Council, statement by the Bar Council of the Guyana Bar Association of Guyana on the unjustified public criticism of judicial officers. So they issued a statement a few days ago. Kudos to them. And hear what it says. Short. The Guyana Bar Council of the Guyana Bar Association of Guyana, or the Bar Council of the Guyana Bar Association of Guyana, notes with concern the recent increase in unjustified public criticism of judicial officers, bracket magistrate and judges, for their decisions to grant or refuse bail. This concern follows a press release by the Guyana Police Force criticizing Chief Magistrate Acting Faith Mugusti for granting bail to a defendant accused of throwing acid on 2 women. While the Bar Council recognizes the right to critique judicial decisions, such commentary must be factual, balanced, and based on law. In this instance, the Guyana Police Force's statement omitted material facts, forcing the Chief Magistrate Acting to clarify in court that the prosecution had failed to provide the promised evidence on which the criticism was based. The granting or refusal of bail is based on the application of legal principles, and bail is simply a mechanism to ensure attendance at court and not a penalty. The Guyana Bar Council urges public institutions, including the Guyana Police Force, to exercise responsibility in their statements on judicial matters. Inaccurate or incomplete criticism not only undermines judicial officers, but also weakens public confidence in the justice system. Judicial independence and the rule of law must be respected at all times. That's the release from the Bar Council of the Guyana Bar Association. Because we said here, if you remember, students, that it was only inappropriate for the police to have made a public comment on this issue. And I said, and we can relate, that many times decisions are made by magistrates and judges. You have to feel happy with it. You have to feel happy. You're vexed because you believe they do the right thing. But you would never, ever, professional ethics will dictate that you never, ever come out publicly and say you're making statements like that. And even if you're to make a statement, you couch your language very diplomatically and criticizing, but very diplomatically. But they came out with a statement criticizing the magistrate. And the magistrate has made it clear, based on the magistrate made it, and the Bar Council is saying that they didn't present a lot of the facts to the magistrate, right? Because, yes, Andre, we call it out before. So it's good to see the Bar Council come out and they're calling it. And again, there's a new Minister of Home Affairs who is a lawyer and a former magistrate. I hope matters like these, the Minister of Home Affairs will look into. And I saw one of our colleague ministers is said to have read the Riot Act to people in some area, Region 7, I think it was. It's time she read the Riot Act to Ikin and all of them about this thing. Because I got a feeling from all that we see coming out of the police that there's no proper control mechanism. There's no proper vetting mechanism to make sure that the releases are appropriate. All other thing they're writing. So let me understand this. Let me bring in Mr. Conway to comment on this. And I have something more to say about this same Bar Council and the release. Yeah, go ahead, CC.
I'm happy that the Bar Council, came out and against this statement that the police issued, against the magistrate. I think the police, they were really out of place to issue a statement like that, really out of place. And as you mentioned, Paul, sometimes you need to be a little more diplomatic. And there are other ways and means of dealing with the situation, apart from coming in the open. And then I know the police and magistrate have to get a cordial relationship. As a prosecutor, I had it. After I had it, even as a man, I had a relationship. I can come out with most when you're around, So I'm happy that they had come out, but that the new Minister of Affairs will also take some action against them. She doesn't have to come out in public, but perhaps call them, and read the Riot Act to them.
Yeah, because again, it's only inappropriate for them to be making public comment criticizing the magistrate. And as it was revealed afterwards, they come with a half-picked duck. They ain't got all the facts. Because, again, I say, they had promised. The man was remanded initially. The man was remanded initially because they promised to produce evidence to show, to buttress their claim that this man ought to be remanded. And then they failed to do so. And the magistrate put him on $500,000 bail. Then they come out publicly criticizing the magistrate. And the magistrate made a point too when she responded to them and say that they should cover those things. So they ain't getting Tordan and Futan information. People should be there to report accurately on what transpired in the court. Accurately. Right? Now, talking about accuracy, I saw a statement, is it this morning or yesterday, attributed to 3 divisional commanders, Assistant Commissioner from 4C, Pazram, Assistant Commissioner in charge of Region 10, Corley Simon, and Assistant Commissioner in charge of 7, Regional Police Division 7, Dale Moore, right? Now, they claim that the crimes in their serious crimes are down, significantly reduced in all 3 divisions. That's 4C, that's East Coast of Demerara, 10, which is Mackenzie, Grisma, Kokwani, the area there, and 7, the Bartica area. They were saying especially murders, right? Matters down. But they made some statements there too, which, first of all, let me say this. And I think the new minister made statements about serious crime being down. Minister, let me caution you. As I said, you have a honeymoon period where you're gonna get your feet wet and so on. When you ought to be, as a former magistrate and as a lawyer, you ought to be able to get to the bottom of these things. Because when the police come and they tell you that serious crimes are down, the police have a very limited number of serious crimes that they're reporting on. Very, very limited number. So things, you spoke recently, Minister, about a drug bust at Timeri. That is not considered a serious crime. They're not going to report it as a serious crime. The 4.4 tons of cocaine in Region 1, that is not considered a serious crime. There had an incident at the Eugene Karai airport where a man coming out from Region 1 running a catchy with 20-something pounds of cocaine. Those things, possession of cocaine, drugs in the oil, possession of arms and ammunition. We talk a lot. Every day you see people with that. Those things are not reported as serious crimes. So, Minister, please be a little bit more discerning and don't just quote the figures just like that. Maybe you might want to influence them to include additional crimes that are considered serious crimes. Maybe you can want to influence that. So when they come on this blanket thing and say serious crimes are done, ask for disaggregation. Ask for a disaggregation, and that might give you a better picture of what is going on. But they come and they say serious crimes are done and all of that. And then what struck me too in that release is that one of the commanders is alleging that their work sometimes is stymied because victims are reluctant to give evidence. He referenced robbery to say many times the victims don't want to give evidence and they make up the matter and all of that. That is worrying. That is a worrying statement from a police divisional commander that you have persons charged for robbery. I know what type of robbery, whether it's robbery, unarmed robbery, aggravation. We don't know what type of robbery, but you say robbery. Use the broad category, robbery. And to say that in many cases, or I don't think he said many, but in cases, the victims are making up that matter there. I never heard that one before. I know that when you have perhaps an assault case and all these other things, people might make up, right? But robbery, people are making up, people refusing or people reluctant to give evidence. What happened to warrants? Because if you are a witness and you decide not to turn up, there's a process to compel you to turn up to give the evidence. So I don't know that we get to the stage where witnesses and perhaps even victims of robberies are now deciding that they don't want to go. Because if it is that a victim don't want to go and get the evidence, you got to investigate further. Is it that the person was intimidated? Is it this is some form of perverting the course of justice, where they take money and all this everything? These things have to be investigated. But to come out and make a bland statement just like that, you got to be careful. And it needs to be looked at much, 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 much deeper. Right? So, Minister, again, this thing what I tell you about things done, crime reduced in these divisions and so on. Let's understand. First of all, understand the classifications. What are considered serious crimes in according to the police reporting, and what are considered not serious crimes. That might be very enlightening and revealing to you. Let me bring in CC on this issue. CC?
Yeah.
This serious crime
As you
thing come up
mentioned,
again.
well, we said over and over again, I think it's only 11 crimes they consider as serious crimes. And that was since over 3 decades ago when Larry Lewis started. And the same thing they get all the time. And out of the 11 different categories of crime, 5 are robberies. Robbery with arms, robbery without arms, robbery with and I think 5. So things like, I make a big note, things like apart from rape, other offenses under the Sexual Offences Act not considered serious crime. Drug trafficking, drug cultivation, not regarded serious crime. Possession of arms and ammunition, not considered serious crime. Arson, not considered serious crime. Money laundering, not considered serious crime. Discharging loaded firearm with intent, not considered serious crime. Here this one, throwing corrosive acid with intent to maim, disfigure, disable, or cause grievous bodily harm is not considered a serious crime. So they got a whole set of crimes now not considered serious crime. And they're not doing no kind of proper disaggregation. They're just compiling figures. Just compiling figures. And they're cocking the figures. They're ghosting. But if you put this one gonna make me look bad and them kind of thing. For example, last year they may get 2 reports of murder. This year they only get 1. And it's gonna say 100% decrease in crime and them kind of thing. They're using the percentage and the figures, to their advantage. But coming back to the statements by the 3 commanders, let me start with Commander 4C. And part of what I read, it said increased numbers of matters in region 4C being dismissed, witness not attending, not appearing, and serious matters in robbery and so forth. That witness in coming or they're making up the matters. I think it's a hasty generalization. He needs to give us more figures. Let us, Carl, give us numbers. Let us give numbers. Let us see if it's a trend. Let us see if it's a pattern. Sometimes 1 or 2 people make a matter and you hear this. There's not a trend. There's no pattern. And I don't see, we saying that they, people not attending court, and sometimes maybe reason why people not attending court, sometimes the fault lies with the police. And yes, now and again you find people might say, I don't want no story in the matter, but not in robbery and them kind of thing. Bring the figures. Instead of making a hasty generalization, bring the figures. Let us have the empirical data as the case may be. And saying that affecting the successful prosecution. No. There's wild statement. Commander Region 10, I know you had a baptism of fire. You run into fire in the true sense. You run into bullets all in the true sense when he went there and took over. But things, as he said, things has quite down. And I think what he did, according to his plan, it's a good plan because he dealing with youths and he dealing with community involvement. And that's the way you gotta go. In certain areas and states they call it COPS, COPPS, community orientation and problem solving. That you, the police, go to the community and deal with them. deal with the youths, deal with the community, and only deal with crime that you really be able to solve problem. Get them to work along with you and solve problem. Community-oriented policing and problem solving. And read 7 Commando. He made
CC,
a statement
oh,
that I don't quite understand. He talked murders are disorderly murders. Whether it's disorderly or not, it is a murder. Pablo. And also he once said that the robberies are committing in the mining areas, not really in Bartik itself. The robbery committing, whether in Bartik or not, whether in the mining area or not, you have to look at it and don't try to find excuses. The murders are disorderly murders and the robberies are committed in the mining area. If you know that they're committed in the mining area, put system in place to deal with that. If you know they are disorderly murders, try and see how you can deal with them. But don't come and say that the robberies, the murders are disorderly murders and the robberies are committed in the mining area. The fact is that you having murders, whether disorderly or not, and the fact is that you're getting robberies in the mining area. And give us figures, show a trend, show a pattern, and let us see what is the plan you have in terms of dealing with this. You don't come and make a wild statement like the Commander C division. Hasty generalization. There's no pattern. There's no trend. You didn't bring no empirical data. And then is there recidivism? You're saying that those men who people make up their matters with them, they're coming back and commit more crime? Where is the evidence? So they need to do proper evaluation, proper analysis in terms of the current situation, and not just give percentage increase and decrease. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
yeah, thank you very much, my brother. Yeah, continue to share the live, share the live. We have some stuff to tell you. The next one is gonna perhaps blow your mind. So share the live, and let them know that we're on. Now, there's a short video that I'll show before we analyze and try to correct this issue. I am referring here to a video I saw, would have been sometime recently, last night perhaps, where the police, they are trying, must admit that they tried. This one dealings with nice nuisance. And they gave what is supposed to be like an infomercial, a short video telling people how nice nuisance should be treated. Nice nuisance is a big problem in Guyana. Nice nuisance is a big problem, so they came with a video. So I'm going to show you the video, and then we are going to analyze, because there's a lot of wrong stuff, a lot of wrong information, wrong procedure in the video. So here we go. Let me show you it. It is not long. Here we go. 1 minute.
Are you affected by noise nuisance? Here is the procedure you should follow. Call your local police station and report the offense. Once the police arrive on the scene and determine the alleged offense is committed, the offender will be arrested and taken to the station. The reporter is required to provide a written statement at the police station for an investigation to be conducted. If sufficient evidence is found, the offender will be charged and placed before the court. However, if the reporter does not come forth, the offender will be placed on station bail. Note: anyone found guilty of falsely reporting a crime will be charged contrary to Section 200 of the Summary Jurisdiction Offences Act, Chapter 802. It is your right to report your plight.
Now, let me say this. Perhaps you have to try to applaud the effort to give some information to the public. But when you do that, you have to give accurate information, because there are so many inaccuracies contained in that 1 minute video. It easy. Nice nuisance, which is a problem, as I've said, in Guyana. So they are telling you, let me analyze it, since you can come in and have this part too, that if there is nice nuisance, if it's what you consider to be nice, call your local police. You have a number there, 911. They say call your local police. That's the first thing you should do. Fine. But what is the story? People will tell you of their experiences, where when you call, the police are very unresponsive to noise nuisance complaints, among others, very unresponsive. Complaints all the time that you call and nobody don't come. And even when they come, they don't take the appropriate action. But here, let me go on. They say call the police, and when the police come, that's what they're telling you. And let me say this. I like to play these things because nobody can say that I am misrepresenting or misinterpreting what they say. That is why I play it to you students, so you can see it, you can hear it for yourselves. They say first 911, the police. Then they say on the arrival, once the police arrive on the scene and determine the offense has been committed, the offender will be arrested and taken to the police station. Hear what they're saying? Once the police arrive right, on the scene and determine that the offense has been committed, the offender will be arrested and taken to the station. Now, I have a lot of problems with that statement. You call the police arrive. Let's say the police hear something playing loud. Wait, there is no warning to tell the person to either turn off, turn down, or something like that. You're going to arrest. On what grounds? On what grounds are you arresting? And let me tell you what's the biggest issue here. Biggest issue. Hope they're listening. What is nice? What is considered nice? It is very subjective. What is nice to some is not nice to others. So two neighbors, and this I'm telling you some personal experience as a former senior police officer. Neighbors got some issue, want to play a little music, right? They call because they're disturbed, and not because they're nice in itself, but because of the unhealthy relationship between the neighbors. So you're telling me the police don't turn up now, and once the police turn up and they hear music playing, the first thing they do, that is what they're saying, is arrest the person. On what grounds? I ask. On what grounds? Because remember, they go on later on to say that once that is done, right, then you say, well, how would the police determine that the offense has been committed? How would a police arrive, and you see they're putting these things out, and the police who are not properly trained likely to act on these things and act incorrectly. Next thing you know, you're arresting person and lawsuit and all this everything. Because let me fast forward to say this. And it is there in 1601, your powers of arrest. I'm sure CC is going to deal with that aspect. You turn up. Remember, you hear the noise. One would have thought, in my time, the first thing you would have done was to ask the person to tone down, if you believe. Not to tell them, because that is what they do now, or they are alleged to do. It is alleged that they do. They tell the people who make the complaint. And there's big problem in the area thereafter with the neighbors or whoever would have made the complaint. So you turn up, you order for yourself what you considered Lois playing little, somebody playing the music line. I would have thought that the appropriate thing to do is to warn them. Give them a warning to either turn off or to turn down the music. Right? I would have thought so. Hold on, let me deal with one. They're sending one of them out, you know. They're sending out one of them. So, you know, we just tell them we don't waste time with them, you know. And especially we don't tolerate expletives on this thing, on this program. So let me deal with one name. So just come with us other false name. Right. So you would have warned the person, because as somebody said here, somebody just said, you got to be able to measure the noise. And I have that to talk about. I remember sometime not so long ago, they had a release where the Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA of Guyana, had an interaction with the police, how to deal with noise nuisance. And I think they would have provided them with decibel meters. That is a meter which will measure the intensity of the noise, or how loud the noise is. But I don't know what has happened to that. So they're telling police now you must turn up, and once you hear noise, you must arrest. How is that? How can you just go there and arrest like that? How can you do that? Explain that, right? Explain that. And then, you know, I would have thought, I don't know if that you're going to get law. You're going to get a law which tells you what is the acceptable level of noise. You got to get a law to establish that. And I did some research. I love the research. And the research tells me, where is it? It tells you that, for example, we talk about New York. That's an example. And they tell you about the acceptable levels of noise in New York. It says acceptable noise levels in New York City are defined by the New York Noise Code. There's a noise code. You have to have a code. And vary depending on the source and time of day. For commercial establishments, noise must not exceed 42 decibels inside nearby residences and 7 decibels above ambient noise on the public streets between 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. Personal audio devices should not be plainly audible from 25 feet away, and construction is limited to specific hours, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. on weekdays, unless a variance is obtained. Then the tell you is commercial noise. The tell you is personal audio noise, vehicle noise, construction noise. But you have to establish these standards. You have to establish the standard. So tell them, again, I say as it is very subjective. Because what might be nice to you is not nice to the next person. And then when we talk about nice too, we got to talk about the source from which the noise is emitted. Where it's coming from? Because let me say this, in Guyana, my experience has been that if a man playing a big system, that is nice. Playing a big system or a minibus with some fancy thing inside, that is nice. But if you go to, for example, a bar where noise is being made, if you go to one of those religious places where they make a lot of noise too there, I had that experience when I lived in Georgetown. Every Sunday, right? They make a lot of noise. Look, I want to talk about religious places. When I was a commander in Berbice, New Amsterdam, there's a masjid in Main Street. People used to complain about the noise early in the morning when they're calling the washers up to pray. But people complain about these things, but you have to have a commonsensical approach. Because one of the things you must remember too, police, this is to the police and all the people here, that according to the laws of Guyana, the noise has to be loud and continuous, even though they didn't define what loud is. It has to be loud and continuous. I remember having that issue discussed with Ian Chan when I was the traffic chief, because, them minibuses, they're blazing. And we had a difficulty in dealing with it because they say that second aspect, the continuity, the continuous. Because if a minibus drive past you, blaring, yeah, it is loud. But can you argue successfully that it was continuous? I mean, if it is parked up someplace, yes, it is continuous. So all of these things are things to be considered. When you talk about noise, and here, I'm not going to be politically correct. I'm going to call it as it is. You have Indian wedding houses on weekend, because they get sometimes celebration for 3-4 days. Loud music and noise. Somebody going to go and you're going to arrest the people them just like that. I remember when I was the commander in Georgetown, right? People called me. I think it was the late Mr. Kennard called me to tell me about some noise somewhere in Bel Air, right? And on my way home, I personally stopped, called the patrol, I stopped. It was one of those wedding celebrations. And what you do? You went in there, I spoke to the people I'm concerned, and I tell them, say, look, you got to tone this thing down. This thing is much too loud. People are complaining it's much too loud. I have a next experience too, where I live at BV, and nice if you hear this thing, I think, I can't remember what day it was, it might have been a Saturday, blasting. So I decided to look for the source of the noise because it was overbearing. And when I found the source of the noise, it was all the way in Monrepose, 2 villages away. 2 villages away, nice. And next day, a Saturday, I hear noise on the place. When I go and check, is the man setting up a big, you used to call them big system on the roadway at Market Street and the main road. I had to stop them and say, no, that's not going to be allowed. So you got to understand how to deal with these things. All over the place, they have that. In the mornings, in some places, people get up early. They are religiously inclined, loud religious music. That is nice too, you know. That is nice too. Religious music playing very loud. I had to cost some time to go to BD police station early morning. I'm walking. Me exercise early. There's 5 something in the morning. And the noise, when I passed by the police station, it was clearly audible around the station. So I had to go and ask them, wait, y'all ain't hearing the noise? Y'all ain't hearing that noise that thinking to go on 5 o'clock in the morning? They had not stopped playing from the night before. They had not stopped playing. Minibuses, 5 o'clock in the morning, driving around, blowing their horn, all loud, loud, loud. Look, once we're talking about this nice thing, it has to be addressed in a very comprehensive manner. Not this nonsense where y'all come and giving you. You understand that the reporter is required to provide a written statement to the police. You don't arrest this person already, you know. You don't arrest the person for making noise. That is what you're all saying. Now that you already arrest, now you're talking about statement. So on what basis did you make this arrest? If you're going to arrest and you're going to take a statement, you said to investigate. On what basis? I would have thought that you would have taken a statement and established the offense first before you move to say you are going to arrest. Then they tell you that the reporter, if the reporter does not come forward with that, the offender will be released on station bail. Well, you don't arrest the person already, so you now arrest, and then you want the reporter to come forward and to support whatever. So on what basis did you arrest the person? You have to have a legal basis to arrest. You have to have that. And then they say the person does not come up, the person can be released on station bail. So if the person comes up and give a statement, you're not going to release on bail as too. Again, I say I know they have people with legal training in the force. I don't know if they view these things or if they assess these things or if they approve of these things before they're put out in the public domain. But this 1 minute video has so many questions that come up, right? Person bail, the person they put the person bail. Understand this before bringing Mr. Connery. The person is arrested. The person is arrested. That's what you instruct. Because once the police turn up, first measure is arrest, right? Then afterward, you're going to try to get statement, which is wrong, right? Afterward, you're trying to get statement. But then, if you don't get a statement, you're going to put the person on bail. For what? The person should not have been arrested in the first place. And here, I'm not condoning nice nuisance, because y'all just misinterpret. We say something needs to be done about it. But you got to do something in keeping with the confines of the law. You can't go out on this tangent and write all of this nonsense. And I would hope, again, as they had said with that released by the police in relation to the magistrate putting the man on bail, that these things will be redrawn and redone to make sense. Because you're only setting up the policemen on the road who got to respond to this report for conflict. Because imagine first of all, they can't dare to go to certain places. Let me understand it clearly. That's the reality. Certain places, they are not going to be sent. When certain people are involved, they are not going to go there. And even when they turn up and they realize it's certain people, no action will be taken. None. No action will be taken when they turn up and they see who involved in making the noise. That is the reality. Even look, I remember talking about noise when I used to be with cricket. People in the Providence area used to complain bitterly. One man I knew there used to say once they get cricket and think he got to go and spend the night at some hotel and so on because he just can't take it. And the cricket noise is not continuous. I'm talking about the instruments that are being played. I ain't talking about the crowd making noise. That is the reality. And again, I say it needs to be addressed, but it has to be addressed in a sensible and sustainable way. Let me bring in Mr. Conway, man, to talk about this nice thing. Cece, let me hear your take on this nice thing and the video that they produced. Go ahead.
Well, it's good that they're attempting to produce videos, but they got to produce good videos, And the operative thing is that the noise got to be loud and continuous. Loud and continuous. And they say there, showing that there you should call 911. Long now I haven't heard anything about 911, but I know we used to get a lot of issues with 911. People not answering or to ring away. I remember when I was commander, and I want my operation room, I used to dial 911. And I had an effort to see whether 911 is working. I remember I was holding as commando A division breakdown. And then a Sunday morning I called 911. And the first ring, a male voice answered. Why you don't call your effing mother? And he spelled out the name. I said, Commando. Sorry, I'm sorry. Them little boys calling me and cuss me on the phone. So I thought it was them cussing me on the phone. Well, I know when I finished with he, within a month, he was out of the job. So they got to be careful sometimes how whether they monitor 911, and see how it's working. But coming back to the thing, you turn up and you got a report of noise nuisance and there's no noise there. Nothing is playing, nothing. What do? Do you arrest, as they say? Or do you take a statement, a written statement from the person? A person saying that they're willing to prosecute, to give evidence to prosecute the offender. And then if you're talking about arrest, Section 16, one of the Police Act is saying it shall be lawful for any member of the force to arrest without warrant. And I'm dealing with C2. Any person whom any other person charges with having committed an offense punishable on summary conviction, if such person is willing to accompany a member of the force affecting the arrest to the police station and to enter into a recognizance to prosecute such charge. So you must arm yourself with your statement before you horse and make an arrest. You gotta arm yourself with your statement. You gotta there's your authority. Well, since you go there, somebody make the report and you gone on your arrest and carry them to station. And then when the person come, you send them on bail. Bail for what? The person is no offense established. The person is not willing to take action. And sometimes you one person and that's it. You don't jump to arrest. Look, I got a report that this is playing so too loudly, and please turn it down or turn it off. And sometimes people say, all right, I turn it off and there's it. And it depends what people call nice to I remember in Borbisa's commando, we had a report in Kanji. Two neighbors, they never used to agree. They live in close proximity. And one reporting that she getting nice from coming from a neighbor 4 o'clock every morning, 4:30. Like when a woman wake up early, she had about 9 children and she clapping she roti. And there's nice that disturbing the other person, And then I see they put in that clip there, section chapter 802, section 200. Why is it you got a one person that if they make any report that is false, they could be prosecuted? How would that come into play? In this clip, how would that come into play that you telling people if they make false report they could be prosecuted? That shouldn't be wrong at all. They ain't get no thing there. And even sometimes when you investigating, depends on the circumstances, you might got seize equipment, to make your case stronger as the case may be. But it's good that they were trying to get a clip, but the clip is all wrong. Too many wrong things down there. Perhaps nobody vetted. And then the part that telling person that if they make a false report, before they could be prosecuted. Giving false information to the police is not an offense yet. The thing is that the police got to act on that information that you got. It's when they act on the information and they arrest somebody or detain somebody, that is when it's thing. It's when they act on it. Giving it is nothing. It's when the police act that they use information that you give, which is false, to the detriment of other persons. But the whole clip, it doesn't make sense. Too many wrong things there, And then you're telling people that if they make false report, why you telling them they could be prosecuted? Yes, they must put up clips, but make sure that they sit down and do a proper clip, proper vetting and proper clip so that the public could be properly informed.
Right, right. Again, you want to encourage the public. We understand that to do the thing. You want to provide information. You want to educate the public, as we have been doing on this program. But you got to come with something that's accurate and makes sense, and is within the confines of the law. Again, I say before I move on to the next subject, that to tell the police that when they respond to a complaint of noise nuisance, the person must be arrested. I said, no, something is definitely wrong with how they are saying that. Again, once they respond, the person, if you find the police turn up, and yes, the music is playing what you consider loud, because they are not telling us about measuring the level of noise, So again, it is very, very subjective. What is nice to one person might not be nice to the other person, right? And then you got to look at neighbor conflict and all this type of thing. What is nice? You got to be able to measure the noise. In many cases, I know one body complain about noise. And if you ask the next person who live right nearby, I said, oh, well, it ain't affecting me. And that is why you need to get statement. No, it ain't affecting me. I hear it. I don't think it is excessive and all of that. Those are some of the problems you are likely to encounter. And then Mr. Conway made an excellent point there about the equipment. Because I know two parts of the protocol used to be that if, what happens? Let me be real for the young policemen. Many times you turn up, you're sent to this thing when you turn up, the music is playing what you consider to be too loud. You speak to the persons and they might tone it down. They turn it down in your presence. And once you're gone away, then you might get complaint, they turn it back up. So you got to know how to deal with that. So if you're getting complaint, they turn it back up. Again, you haven't measured it to know what is the decibel level and all. You don't know. Discos and so on around. I remember back in the day, I always remember the one on Camp Street. Library on Camp Street. If you stood outside the library, you couldn't hear what was going on inside unless both doors were open at the same time. It was sealed. Properly sealed. But all over, you have noise. You have mechanic shops and other businesses in residential area. Well, first of all, I know that Guyana still get residential area. But people have been complaining. You're there in certain areas, somebody come, they establish, they set up a mechanic shop. They set up a welding shop. They set up a car wash arrangement, right? They open a business place and playing loud music because it's like a bar. Those are all of the things you have to look at. And for the police to come and give a statement or give a video like that, I know they're under pressure. But what you got to do, they can't talk about the executive leadership team. What you got to do is sit down and make recommendations to the appropriate authorities. You might need specific laws to deal with this. And having laws without having the capability to enforce is another problem you're talking about. What our capability? I'm not only talking about equipment like decibel meters and so on. I'm talking about ranks who are trained professionally to enforce the law properly. All those are things that you have to consider. All those are things that you have to consider. Now, let me move on. We spent some time on this nice because those of us who live in Guyana know that it is a serious, serious problem. Like the road problem, nice nuisance is a serious, serious problem. The people play nice, they get consideration for children got to go to school in the morning. Nurses and doctors got to get up in the morning to go to work. They're concerned about the sick and the people. They don't concern about that. They play the nice, they make the nice, and so those are those things you got to look at, timings and all of that. Because what is nice during the day might not be, what is nice in the night might not be nice during the day. And in New York, to talk about ambient noise and all of those type of things you have got to look at. All of those things you have got to look at. Right? Moving on. I'm going to come back to corruption just. So what I saw 2 days ago, right? We were talking about the helicopter crash. GDF helicopter crash killing 5 persons back in 2023, December 2023. So 2 years, the second anniversary is rapidly approaching. And you're hearing nothing, you know. At one stage, we heard the National Security Advisor, Jerry Govaya. Jerry Govaya, is he still the National Security Advisor? Has he been reappointed? I don't know. He said that the release has to be given by the president. I think that's what he said. And then at the Thursday afternoon, where I just called news out, the vice president said, no, I think he said cabinet or the defense board will make such a decision. After that, nothing Govaya say anything more on this issue. And they're quiet. 2 years and counting. I have seen ever so often you have military aircrafts in the US. I did some training accident or anything like that. Quick time investigation report. But in Guyana, 2 years almost, and hearing nothing. So Stabrook News is reporting on the 22nd. They said more than 286 days have passed since Minister of Public Works, Juan Ejil, last deadline for the release of the official report on the 2023 helicopter crash that claimed 5 lives. Sources close to the investigation indicate that, well, that's what I say now. Sources close to the investigation indicate the responsibility for the release of the report is now in the hands of the newly appointed Minister of Utilities and Aviation, Deodat Indar. All of the previously given deadlines have passed without any public address or release of the report. When contacted for comment by Stabrook News last week, Ejil stated, and here I quote, "I'm offering no comment on that at this time," end of quote. The responsibility now appears to have shifted to Minister Indar, who provided a similar non-committal response stating, quote, "I'm now getting settled in at this point. I can't give you a response on that," end of quote. Despite repeated promises, the government has failed to make the findings of the December 6, 2023 GDF helicopter crash public, a delay that directly contravenes the Civil Aviation Act of 2018 and its accompanying regulations. The crash tragically claimed the lives of Brigadier Gary Best, Colonel Michael Sahoud, Lieutenant Colonel Michael Charles, Lieutenant Colonel Sean Welcome, and Staff Sergeant Jason Khan. 2 survivors, Lieutenant Crawford and Corporal Jackson, were rescued from the wreckage. Ejil had previously set a 30-day deadline ending March 4, 2025 to address the report publicly, stating he needs the time to review the findings. This was recommitted following a previous promise in November 2023, where he stated the final report will be released after stakeholders, including the Guyana Defense Force, the U.S. National Transportation Safety Board, Transport Canada, and Bell Helicopters had 60 days to provide their feedback on the draft. The government's inaction is in clear breach of the Aircraft Accident and Incident Investigation Regulation 2024, Regulation 71. Regulation 71 mandates that if a final report cannot be made public within 12 months, an interim statement must be issued at each anniversary of the incident, detailing the investigation's progress and any safety issues. With one anniversary having passed, no such statement has been issued. Further, Regulation 17.3 explicitly requires that these interim statements be made publicly available on the Guyana Civil Aviation website. The website last updated accident report is for 2021, is for a 2021 incident, demonstrating a complete disregard for transparency. Former Public Works Minister Patterson, they said they make a mistake here. They say Winston Patterson, sure they mean David Patterson, who served under the David Granger administration, highlighted the legal framework his tenure helped establish. He explained that the Civil Aviation Act of 2018 created an independent air accident investigation unit aligned with international standards for bodies like the International Civil Aviation Organization and the Federal Aviation Administration. Patterson emphasized that once the final report is sent to the minister after stakeholders' feedback, by law, you are supposed to make it public. Patterson suggested that the continued delay implies a deliberate effort to conceal information. Quote, obviously, there are things in there that they don't want revealed, end of quote. He stated, drawing parallels to the unreleased census data. He asserted that the government excuses, quote, do not hold water, end of quote, and that the failure to publish the report is, quote again, in breach of law, end of quote. Again, they talk about transparency. Transparency, this accident occurred according to the report is 6th of December 2023. We are approaching 2 years, and you can't hear what transpired. And of course, that allows for the fueling. That fuels a lot of speculation. People speculating, maybe it was shut down, maybe all kind of thing you're going to hear. But they are not releasing the report. And as it's pointed out in this article, they are mandated on the anniversary to give an interim report. But these people, 5 more years for I want. That's what I want. That's what they want. And if they were so far from transparent during that period, imagine now what's gonna happen. What is it? The opposite of transparency is what? Opaque. Now they come is black tint now. Black, totally opaque. They're not telling you nothing. They're telling you a thing. Jill said, I don't, me and them with a ministry no longer. Hey, I love it. When Agile is approached, that is not me ministry any longer. Because they're separated, in case you realize, they release or they relieve Agile of some of his responsibility. So whereas during the past administration, he had responsibility for that. Now they bring Indar and they cut off the piece and give it to Indar. So when they approach Agile, the bishop, supposed to be a religious bishop, turning out to be a chessboard bishop. He said, no, I ain't got time with that. That's not me business now. Right? I ain't got business there. Asking that, I know coming to this office, I got to read and I have to understand what's going on. So when he was in the same, when he was in the same ministry as a junior minister, he telling us that he wasn't aware of what was going on in such an important incident. You think it easy? This makes sense. He was there in that same ministry. Or if he was not in that ministry, he was a member of government, he had a cabinet or some senior position. You want to tell me such an important thing, you're not aware of what is going on? Kajil said, not me. Kajil said, not me. And Indar said, well, I know in the thing, and I got brief myself, basically, that's what he said. See, you gotta love these people out there that's dance, man. Out there they're dancing without a tune.
Yeah, man, somebody, I done with that. That they chop off aviation and give somebody else. So the man tried it. And the man said, I ain't flying by, I stay up on the ground. Hey, I ain't saying nothing yet. But Paul, I know you killed Gary Best
Yes, I
instead
knew
of Gary
somebody
Beaton
commented.
in
Gary
that
Beaton, man, oh
thing.
Lord. Gary Best is my friend. Just I misspoke. My apologies. Rear Admiral Best is Gary Beaton, me man. Gary Beaton. Go ahead, CC.
All right, because they're not transparent, a whole set of conspiracy came into play. People saying it's Venezuelan shoot them down. And then when you get a co-pilot, the co-pilot not going to scratch. And the pilot and another passenger, and they burn up. They burn up. But the co-pilot, was he there? Was he elsewhere? Did they left him at a certain place and then flew to the other area where they had the crash? So many things, so many conspiracy theories. And I wouldn't say that the co-pilot and the other guy survived the crash. Perhaps they survived the trip. And then when you look at the footage, when that helicopter took off from Camp Ayangano, it took an unusually long time before it could be airborne. An unusually long time. Was it mechanical failure? Was it the weather condition was so bad that they couldn't see? Was it was shut down by Venezuelans? Did they left and go on their own runnings and put on the pilot and say, you don't come here by you, we put on We're hearing so much of different theory, and the more they remain silent, the more other theories will develop, will come up. But They're not transparent. Therefore, and over coming down to 2 years, coming down to 2 years, well, I can't call the accident. They are the deaths, whether by accident or by design, we don't know. But it's high time that they complain and tell us exactly what took place. Well, just like how them telling us about a police sergeant who was killed over 500 and something days, the same thing happening.
Yeah. I mean, look, let me understand this clearly. By now, we have to assume that the fact that they are hiding this report, there must be something there that is they don't like. Must be something there that they don't like. Oh, why you? And is that a case? We know that they have the report. They reported that they received the final report some time ago, and they had some 60 days or something like that. Months passed, going on now to 2 years, and that report can't come out. Going on to 2 years. And I know from looking at videos and so on that when you have an accident, especially involving aircraft, the people are anxious to get to the bottom of what caused it, just in case it's some mechanical failure or some mechanical issue that can affect other similar aircraft. But not in Guyana, right? Not in Guyana. And let me move on. And let me say this, let me preface this thing by saying this. When we raise these issues, it's not because we want necessarily to make people look bad. But you want to know where the standards have gone. Where the standards have gone. Where is the pride in us as a country? And I say this when I show you this. Look, this is something somebody posts. That's supposed to be, that flag at the bottom is the German flag. Well, it's the same flag with the PVP flag. And look the condition of the national flag that is being flown above. That is one of the symbols of nationhood. If I remember my civic days properly in school, they taught us that in school. Symbols of nationhood, the national flag is one. National anthem, coat of arms. Symbol. Look, your symbol of nationhood along someone on the highway, right? And they get a German flag below, which is also the PVP flag. This is no, people get no shame where people don't go around, they don't drive and see these things, and whoever responsible with this public works and to correct these things, it look bad. Imagine a foreigner, you talking about tourism, and you even recently you had CPL final, and all them people come. That is what they're coming to see. Your national flag being in that condition, and you all in shame. You all in shame. And we made the point some time ago too. And I know because elections done. Elections were held on the 1st of September, done. Them flags and so on coming down for the next year. You can see them all over the place. I hope that now they listen to me and take them down. All them big drum where they get us cup. They painted some of the public utilities in PVP color. PVP color painted on some of the public utilities. They went coming down, they went moving it, they don't care. Standards, falling standards, they don't care. Right? They don't care. But this is a disgrace to have a national flag. And let me tell you something. That was part of my training. And they will tell you that when police headquarters, especially in the TSU, you're trained to have an eye for these things. So when you drive around as a police officer, you see a flag at a police station not being properly flown, you make noise. Tell them go and change the flag, not only the national flag, but also the police flag. Go and change the police flag, get a new flag. It is the image that you are projecting, which is so important. But somebody coming in the place, driving along some road, some foreigner, and they see that, if they recognize it, for example, as a Guyanese flag, what would they think of us as Guyanese? What would they think of us as Guyanese? So again, these things are not nitpicking and finding fault. These things are important. They are important. Right? Now the next one. Talking about falling standards. Mr. Conway on this program repeatedly over the past months was calling on the certain commanders to visit. He was talking to the commander in Region 8, Stanley, Rabindranath Stanley, for go and visit, and all these type of things. Right? Well, Mr. Stanley went to visit some area. I saw the pictures. You know, the police like when these things happen, they like posts on social media. But this is Mr. Stanley visiting some area in his division. Look, this is what the commander of the division is projecting. Don't worry with the boots. The boots might be appropriate because of the weather and all of that. But the man get on the uniform. The man, this say folks, this say is a pistol the man get tucked in his belt. Commander of the division. He has a pistol tucked away. No holster or anything like that. No holster. There's a pistol stuck in his waist. And as you can see, dark shades. Dark shades. What type of standard are they setting? You want to tell me the commander can't get a holster to holster the pistol that he's carrying properly? You want to tell me he can't get a holster? Does the commander know what the regulation says about wearing dark shades and all of those things in uniform? All of those things have gone through the window. And these are the reasons, or these are some of the reasons why the standards are fallen, because the ranks can do the same thing. The commander is the example. First of all, the commander, when he sees things, he would not know that is not wrong because he's doing the same thing. He's doing the same thing. He is doing the same thing. The man got a pistol stuck in his waist. Man got a pistol stuck in his waist. We got a call student. We got a student, somebody poison ivy. First of all, when I hear those names or those call names, I just get a little concerned. And the person is messaging all the time, continuously and so on. Hey, don't use this forum for spread whatever message you want to spread. Whoever is poison ivy, let me caution you. This is not the place for you to be spreading talking about Obama. I ain't even reading it, but I just noted your frequency of posts. So since this program started, you must be posted over 50 times already. You are warned. Done for today. Stop for today, poison ivy. Stop for today. Maybe you can start again the next day. And this is a one strike. Now that you are warned, if you continue, action will be taken. Don't use the platform for come and whatever you want to propagate. This is not a place for that. Yeah, fallen standard. Fallen standard. And maybe you have not heard me yet, Poison Ivy. You post something now about Aruba, St. Martin, Curacao, and all them type of thing. I'm waiting for the thing to sink in. I'm waiting for the message to get to you. I'm going to give you perhaps a minute or so, by which time I will assume that you have received the message, and I will take whatever action is required for me to take. Students, what y'all think? What y'all think? I like to get my students involved. The thing. Look, and that is one, right? That is one with the commander. Look, next one. Look. Somebody sent this to me this morning. Look. This is supposed to be, but you can't say a man got on what appears to be TSU uniform. A man appears to be what is TSU uniform. Right? Look. Is that part of the uniform? That is complete part. The man got on what you call balaclava. Is this acceptable? Mr. Watts, you in charge of operations. Mr. Lowenfield is a TSU man. Right? So, is that acceptable? I know the other ranks who are there are not wearing something similar, but the man with 3 stripes on the hand, the man in 3 stripes on the hand, get on this balaclava or whatever they call it, ski mask, right? Well, I will comply, Poison Ivy. You ask to be blocked, and I will do that right away. Yeah, I will block you immediately as you ask for it. So your wishes are my command, right? So you have been blocked, right? So is that part of the uniform? All of these things lead to the problems in the force. It's about image. It's about people having to respect the person. I need to ask because it might very well be that there is a new form of uniform. I don't know that is so. So maybe Mr. Conway again. I always lean on Mr. Conway when these things come up. See, As a man who's been in training, maybe there's no part in the uniform.
All right. Before we get into that, let me just, you mentioned about the symbols of nationhood, and it's in Article 7 of the Constitution. Let me read it. It is the duty of every citizen of Guyana, wherever he or she may be, and of every person in Guyana, to respect the national flag, the coat of arms, the national anthem, the national pledge, and the Constitution of Guyana, and to treat them with due and proper solemnity on all occasions. Article 7 talks about duty to respect national symbols, the symbols of nationhood. We need to. I watch with amazement the Commando Region number 8. And I've been talking all along the time that he's not going on visit. Perhaps he is gone. I think he's been to K2 or Monkey, someone in place there. No, the thing is that, and let me talk about the commando, and I will continue to talk. Allegations that after one of his bar hopping sessions in Borbis, he was too icy in Borbis. After one of his bar hopping session, he was driving his vehicle, and by the New Amsterdam hospital, he was involved in an accident with a motorcyclist. The motorcyclist died on the spot. Before the markings could be erased, in lava time, with breakneck speed, he was a 2IC in Borbis. They sent him to region number 8. And not only to region number 8, they sent him as the commander for region number 8. Just involved in a fatal accident, they didn't take proper measurements yet. And not only that, he was promoted within a short period of time to senior superintendent, where the police service commission that wasn't existing, you hear that the police service commission had promoted him. So if that is the man here, and look at his dress, a weapon in the waist, and look at the others. I ain't see no body camera or anything. No body camera with none of them, and you even see no identification mark or no nothing. But there perhaps there's bush bottom, there's Wild West, that you could wear your dark shades and you could do all kind of thing there. But that is the commando involved in a fatal accident, involved in a motorcyclist, and with breakneck speed, move him as 2IC Barbies to commando region 8, and then within a month or so promoted to senior superintendent by a service commission that doesn't exist. And you hear the service commission had promoted him to senior superintendent. And that's what we get. And look at the others with TSU. Perhaps there's a new wear with TSU. There's a new wear of TSU. Perhaps there's a what standard, Look at them. Look at them there. And they're more to you see their conduct, but they say it's bush ball. They say bush, and bush get different dress from Georgetown and other places.
Yeah, that is what going on. The falling standards. Let me say this, man. Again, it's how you carry yourself, how you're going to impress these people. So the first time I suspect they're going to see the commander, that's what they're seeing. That's what they're seeing. In relation to this second photograph, right? Let me say this. Let me caution. Let me warn. Minister, I saw an article, I think it's today's paper, about this mining issue. I think it's in region 8 or region 7. You have to look into this thing very carefully. Where some mining magnate, they allege they are bullying some small miner. They claim that the small miner, the matter went to court on several times, and the small miner has prevailed. He has been successful. But the big miner, using whatever influence he has to bully the small miner. And I saw videos where recently guns firing. And one of my sources indicated to me that you're going to get a massacre there soon if the authorities don't deal with that matter quickly. They say you're going to get a massacre in the area because it would appear as though the bullying or the alleged bullying by this established minor has reached proportions where the people are not going to take it any longer. They're going to get retaliation. So, Mr. Moore, when you talk about murders in the mining areas, maybe if you don't intervene, if the police don't intervene in this one soon, you're going to get big story in that area. I don't know what type of intelligence you all get, but I saw there's an article in today's Tabruk News or Kaicho News, I think, one of the main dailies, right? Notice that main. To me, main is Tabruk or Kaicho. Them others is not main, right? That one is not main. There is not main. They're not even main that carries sewage. They're not main at all, right? So I am warning y'all to make sure that matter is looked at with urgency, because gunfire started already. Maybe the gunshots that you be the order I ordered on the tape, maybe that was warning, but it might escalate. It might escalate. So I am saying to you, right? And I think this same picture that you see here, I'm not sure, because I think this is a mining officer or these are the TSU police and so on. We need to make sure that this matter is brought to some successful conclusion very soon. Let me understand. Now, moving on, I was got to tell you all something about this new cabinet. Tell you about a new cabinet, and the cabinet get not only soft food, the cabinet already granny sugar. I know if you are low granny sugar, man. Sometimes you get to only country people on this thing. So sorry, too many tongue people. They can't understand these country people lingo. But I hear the cabinet get off granny sugar, right? I read something here where it is saying here, let me read this. This is back in 2020, February the 24th in Chronicle. Police, PVP candidate under probe for alleged sexual molestation of a teen. The PVP candidate. Also, police are probing link to a suicide of a victim. Here what the article says. A father from Tushan, East Bank, Essequibo, is mourning the death of his 13-year-old daughter, who allegedly took her own life on Saturday, believed to be as a result of suffering she felt over being sexually assaulted by a family pandit, who is said to be a candidate on the PVP civic list. Regional Commander Mark Bean said that while the pandit is out on bail for the reported sexual assault, which was first reported on February the 17th, there are no current plans to bring him back in light of the child's death. However, the police will be investigating to ascertain if there's a link between the girl's death and the PPPC candidate. We don't have a cause because there's nothing linking him to our death. The most that will happen now is we have to see if there's a link. End of quote. Subsequent to Friday 17th report, the suspect was arrested on the 20th of February and released on 150,000 station bail after giving statements. The commander said he denied the allegations. The police said the police are currently working on a file to send to the Director of Public Prosecution for advice. Investigations are also ongoing to confirm the incident of suicide. Then, according to the reports from the family, the second-form student of Zeeburg Secondary School was found at approximately 7 hours on Saturday, hanging in a bedroom of her Tushan News Housing Scheme home. She was taken to the West Demerara Regional Hospital, and family members say she died on her way to the hospital. Her death came 5 days after her father had taken her to the Lenora police station to make the report against the PPPC candidate, who is alleged to have been sexually grooming the young lady since 2019. The father couldn't hold back, could hardly speak on Sunday as he sat in the chair at the family home, watched over by relatives who feared for his health as he grieved the death of his third child. What the father said, however, was that he wanted justice for his child. Quote, she was a quiet individual, easygoing, end of quote. Then they said that man who the allegation was made against is now a minister in the new PVP government. The allegation was made against the minister in the PVP government. You get the position there now, minister. Allegation of raping a 13-year-old child, and then the child committed suicide. Cabinet with Bradley Sugar, cabinet with a lot of termites. That's where they get. Because he's not alone. Kwame McCoy is, well, you know, he's a cabinet member, he's a government minister, allegations against him. Convicted Kwame McCoy, convicted. Don't forget that, convicted for assault and that sort of thing. And when the shit was thrown in Freddie Kissoon's face, which now seems to have had a delayed effect, he was arrested on that matter, Kwame McCoy. And the magistrate who presided over that thing, I'm going to read it, I'm going to find it, I get it somewhere, I'll read it to you. The magistrate said that based on the evidence that he was involved, she didn't convict him because she said some technical thing. But she said there was no doubt that Kwame McCoy was involved in the showing of shit. This kind of miasmic matter, and also I think you call our country marker shit in the face by Nigel supermarket area there. It would appear that a good portion went down his throat. It would appear as it had delayed effect, which is now being shown. Delayed effect. Freddie, I could talk because I pull up an article the other day where you were high in praise for me. Freddie Kissoon, you know, that's him, Freddie Kissoon. When I had my farewell, or when they had the farewell for me at police headquarters back in 2010, I had some people turn up them on. Freddie, Mark Benchcap, and all them came up and they sang praise for Slow. Freddie Kissoon took to the mic and President Kissoon praised Paul Slow, right? And I guess now that the shit affected, you can get a different view of who Paul Slow was. And I think Freddie Kissoon. I remember appearing on a program. You had a program. I think it was used to operate out of NCN. I went there a night way back in the day when I was traffic chief. And Freddie Kissoon even check the articles. Used to praise Paul Slow frequently. The one man who stood up to this dictatorship, the dictatorship of Godraj and Jack Dew. Yes, Freddie Kissoon, I thank you for that. But it appears as though since that miasmic matter, they weren't even pronouncing the word properly, and I sound like them. Shit there, there's a shit, I can't mispronounce that. Since the shit got down your throat and you now think this delayed effect, right? Maybe you're seeing things differently now. Yeah, Kwame McCoy convicted for assaulting, think he assaulted Benchcap. Some other man, more than once, convicted for assaulting people. Right? He is a member there of the government. He has returned as a member of the government. And then they have this one now who is alleged to have raped a 13-year-old a pandit. And some people say pandit is the bandit. Rape a 13-year-old girl. Right? Which led to her committing suicide. She hangs herself. And he is there. And maybe that is why I got say friend, but maybe I can say former friend because perhaps he no longer holds me as a friend. James Bond, 00 not license to Lake Batty. Maybe that is why he did what he did. Because the records will show that many of these people, once you're aligned to the PVP, you get criminal matters and so on, it has disappeared. And I guess several of them now in this new dispensation, either as cabinet members, either as ministers, either as member of parliament, with things like that. James Bond being one, 3 criminal charges pending. And I said before, I'm saying it again, James playing the card. So therefore, don't be surprised when very shortly, very soon, you hear the matters against James Bond have been discontinued. Right? Or if they continue, their file can't find, witnesses lose their memory, they're suffering from amnesia, or Jackie Opel might have visited. That is what you're going to have, man. That is what you're going to have. Now, before I see time running out on me, I got some words to the minister. Minister, again, I say to you, Minister of Home Affairs, I'm referring to, perhaps you want to find out about this murder accused who escaped from the Friendship police station. Find out from them what really transpired. Right? As I said, now you come, you have your honeymoon period seems to be likely to be very, very short. Likely to be short. Right? So you remember not so long ago, Minister asked them to brief you on the four ranks who were alleged to have robbed a Chinese man who won some money at the casino in Church Street. And when he came out, he was stuck up and robbed. I think they said 5 million or 4 million or something like that. Just before elections. We didn't hear nothing about that. That was like almost a month now. They got under the carpet. Carpet got in fat, Minister. Look at it. They got a minister asked them to brief you too on the matter at police headquarters where the cocaine turned flour. All of these things you should be there. You should make a note and ask for a briefing. Cocaine lodged in perhaps the most secured, or it should have been the most secured place in the police, not only headquarters, in the old police organization. And when they went to do the handover, the cocaine was no longer cocaine. Houdini stepped in and the cocaine became flour. They opened a baking shop there instead, right? Then there was a report of guns missing at Albert Tong police station. Find out about that too. Find out what is going on. And as you're in it, find out the other incident where it was reported that a police sergeant from Region Division 3 was the mastermind in some housebreaking or robbery gang. They reported that months ago, that when they checked, there was communication between the arrested suspect and this sergeant, and they said he was under close arrest. You not hear nothing more about it. And they tell you that they're transparent. I get one more, you know. You might want to ask again in Region 3, what happened to Adriana Young? You know, I've been warning y'all, you know. Adriana Young, it was when April this year, she was murdered at Doubleday at Tushan, East Bank, Essequibo. This is November, and people already seem to have forgotten about it. And the last I heard from the crime chief is that the investigation is still ongoing. The investigation is still ongoing. What maybe you want for them to brief you on that so that you in turn can brief the country about Adriana Young's murder. And when you ask about that too, you might want to find out what is the position with the man who was in charge of the division and who was trying to mislead the public to say that she was seen in some car heading towards Vidinoop, blah, 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 blah. Mandal, Khalil Mandal, assistant commissioner. They say he got on administrative leave. That was in when? April, they said he on administrative leave sometime then. So imagine this man if he's still on administrative leave. Administrative leave means you're home, you're working, and you're getting all your pay and so on. So April, May, June, July, August into September. So it's 5 months and counting. This man getting paid. He holding flashy and getting paid. And I want to bring this thing to some completion. While you ask about police officer, ask about Emnat Shah, the man who the U.S. sanctioned for being a drug trafficker, senior superintendent. U.S. government sanctioned him for being a drug trafficker. What happened to that? Minister, you want to find out, get a briefing about that too? And let me tell you this, Minister. Let me tell you this. And this is concrete information. Talk about the run-ins, gun license. There's supposed to be a firearm licensing board, comes under your office. And based on the amendment to the law, you, the minister, should have a final say as to who. I never agreed with it, but that is what the law said. You, the minister, should have a final say in who should get permission to own and use firearm. Run-ins in that. Run-ins, rackets, corruption. Driver's license, corruption. And here this one, Minister, because the law allows you, as the Minister of Home Affairs, to do a waiver on tint. A waiver on tint. I hear the rackets are right in the office there. Now you are, well, in the building, I should say. Let me be more, right in the building where monies are passed to people to get tint permit, as they call it. I understand that when the people make the application to you, the vehicle is sent to traffic headquarters and they got to measure and all that. I hear is run-ins. Run-ins, Jackie Opel, you got to pay. That's what we hear going on, right? That is what we hear going on. So you have your hands full, Minister. You have your hands full. And again, before I begin, Mr. Conway, let me say to you, keep your predecessor far away. I'm referring to Robeson, Shoot, and Scoot Ben. Keep him far away, because if he had been successful, I suspect they would not have removed him from the position. The fact that he was removed is an indication that even the PPP had to admit that he was no use. NFG, N is for no, G is for good, F is for whatever you think it is. NFG, right? NFG. Let me bring in Mr. Conway. You're going to make a remark and make a closing, and then we're going to move on. CC, all along, but over to you.
Well, you give the minister more than a mouthful. I have several more to give her, but I won't give her now. I don't want her to choke. I want her to digest. I want her to chew and digest. There are much more, so I can't get you too much. You're going to choke. She's going to vomit. I want it to go down freely. But, Minister, you get much more to come. And I saw a little clip, a very disturbing clip, with the squatter speaking. I don't know if it's AI, artificial intelligence, or if it's fake news. But here is a confirmed squatter saying that persons, and he's talking about training, persons who complete the junior police officers course will get a degree. We get a diploma. And person who completes the senior officer course will get a degree. I don't know if it's a degree from Lenoro or IFLOT or from Barbies. I don't know. But let's be saying that those who complete the junior police officer course will get a diploma, and those who complete the senior officer course will get a degree. I don't know which university, whether University of IFLOT, whether University of Palmyra or Waysever will issue those documents, but I'm going to find out. As I say, I hope it is artificial intelligence, or I hope that it is fake news. But by the next go round, by Friday, I should be in a better position to really find. We have to do our research first, So I'm going to do some research on that clip that I saw.
Yeah, any other closing remarks?
Yeah, that's my closing.
All right, good. Thank you very much, brother. Thank you. Now let me say this. As he said, the minister got a mouthful. The minister got a mouthful. But as I would say to you all, when you see all of these things happening, remember what Crow said. Remember, well, not today is what? Today is Wednesday, and I don't think the vice president had anything last Thursday. I don't know if he's gonna have anything tomorrow, but it amounts to he can't help. I don't think he can help himself with abuse out, right? Abuse out. So let me play for y'all, Juke. Tell you what is real abuse. Real abuse.
It was a big bacchanal just the other day with Enid and Shimakume. Big comments the other day with Enid and Shimakume. I ain't want to hear, so I pass him straight. A fella pull me and tell me wait. Same time Enid husband get off the bus. Well, it's now the Makume start to cuss. She say, look Enid, remember it's you who say how you hire your husband so total bay. Your sweet man does come home in the house too. He could only watch and he can't say, yeah Enid, woman, why you lying on me? Girl, I'm not in your category. And if even said what you said is true, you have a man with your husband too. It's me but I felt so shame when I hear she called him my name. He's so shocked, he don't know what to do, so he stand up there listening to. A policeman was right on the beat, run to make an arrest, but the comment sweet. Enid is a big socialist in South. She want to cuss, but she hardly open she mouth. Girl, you should shame to kiss me for true. It's me, Enid, who you talking to. When you were sick in the hospital, I lend you me dress, me nighty and all. What you know about shame, the Makume say. You didn't shame last week Saturday when your husband come home earlier. Instead, you had to hide the man underneath the bed. When the man hear that, he face come pale as mud. If you choke him, you can't get blood. Watching the wife and shaking the head, I say, Lord, well, tonight she dead. And next comments, woman listening shout, hey, mouth open man Tory jump out. This time the Makume put she hand on she waist, and if you see how she getting on in the place, she say, look, Enid, it's better you leave and go. Don't let me talk everything I know, because you and Doris couldn't agree. You tie the child in the girl belly. I don't care what you say to do. I am still mistress in it they do. Bailiff I take back my TV set, and I never thief peas in the market yet. Now the husband shame, he couldn't take no more. He tell the wife, girl, come let we go. He hold she hand and he pulling she, but she tugging away from me. The Makume say, yes, you manny cool. You better take she away for true. She hire so dotish and borrow kid. What she give to rob, is that you take and eat? He say, listen young woman, stop making strife. You want to put me against my wife? In front me face, you're lying on she. My wife ain't have nobody with me. I know that man you are speaking about. That is her cousin Rufus from South. When he come home with a sleeping tree, sometime I myself does take he for me.
I'm gonna stop there, man. The mighty Duke, Bacchanal. You need that Shimakume. The part of the like you say, and even self, what you say is true. You have the men with your husband too. Bruce, You're gonna hear abuse tomorrow. You're gonna hear abuse tomorrow. Hope you get left down again. You're gonna hear abuse. Now let me apologize. In case you all know who the student is, some Angel H. I did say it earlier. I might have inadvertently removed or blocked that person. I will try to reinstate that person. I will try to reinstate. My apologies. I thought when I pressed I might have made a mistake, but again, profuse apologies to Angel H, and we'll see how best I can have that matter resolved in Angel H's favor. Now, somebody asked a question, how come they aren't convening Parliament yet? There's a good question. We want to know. I guess they have to do it at some time. I don't know what the Constitution says about how soon it can be done, but at some stage it got to be done, because you got a lot of things that now that there's a new government, a lot of stuff. Parliament, you got Police Service Commission, you get things like the Police Complaints Authority, all of those things. The longest while, the last complaint authority died. And maybe that's why you hear nothing but Sergeant Van, who got killed how many hundreds of days ago, and you hear nothing. So I would have thought that the president would have moved with breakneck speed to have these things implemented. But we shall see. Let's wait and we shall see. Folks, 3 months after the dissolution of Parliament, when was Parliament dissolved? Parliament would have been dissolved. You had election in September, so I think it would have been sometime in July. Right, July, August, September, October. So they probably get it until October to put together or to swear in the new Parliament. Then we're gonna have a new speaker. We're gonna have a new deputy speaker. We'll have a new leader of the opposition and new members of Parliament. So let's wait and see. We know who the members of Parliament are supposed to be. They have been identified. We don't know who the speaker will be. We don't know who the deputy speaker will be. They say that the leader of the We Invest in Guyana party has indicated they have the largest bloc in the opposition, and he is going to be. So let's wait and see. Let's wait, because I'm saying this as I close today, that the Win party, we have a configuration now, an unprecedented configuration. Let me understand it. You have the ruling party, and then you have 3 other parties with seat: 16 Win, 12 APNU, and 1 FGM. So we don't know how that will work. We don't know. And again, I'm telling you, look at the configuration. You have unknowns. There's a what I call a dog whistle I saw on Sunday, where it has been said now that the term limits to the commissioners of the Guiding Election Commission, in other words, the constitution should be changed to allow for term limits, meaning the sum of the something they have to move, because as it is now, they claim they get tenure. So you ain't gonna know, nobody can move you unless it's for misconduct or informity. That's what I said. That is what is being said. And I saw the former speaker saying on Sunday that maybe they would want to amend the constitution to bring term limits to the commissioners. That to me is a dog whistle, because if the Win party had called for them to resign and they're not resigning, I would want to believe, it is my personal belief, that they might be inclined to join with the PPP to get the required number of votes to change that constitutional provision. And if they join and change the one, who's to stop them from joining and changing others? That's my thought. No, I'm no political scientist. That's my thought. Right, folks. As I said, we had a long day. Well, again, your attendance after always, even though the attendance might have dropped from just at the wrong election time, we still have significant numbers. We still have significant numbers, and all I would say to you, you continue to come. We will continue to give you the information. Today is Friday. Today is Wednesday. Our next scheduled program is God's Spare Life, Friday afternoon at 4 o'clock, and we're gonna work towards that. So again, I implore you to stay well, be safe, while falling down from people dying on the road, people getting stabbed and killed. Drunk in some man I saw last night, some man drunk somewhere. He drink, I can't tell them, that's Ricky Coast, he drink liquor, this time if you go in the river or swim, they say drunk. Dangerous place, dangerous place. You have to stay well. And let me just leave you all with this.
Sit there and fabricate that. Unless you say who the person is, I can't comment on anonymous people.
Okay, well, let's talk about specific individuals. What is your relationship with Mr. Su Jurong?
Su? Oh, Su? My relationship? Nothing. He's a tenant in my place, yeah.
And he's a good friend of yours?
Yes, yes, he is a friend of ours.
He claims.
Folks, that allegation is still there, so I ain't got none with that. The allegation is still there. So all things being equal, God is, if the good Lord decides we should be here on Friday. See you then Friday afternoon. Until then, stay well. Bye.